The blue light of a laptop screen illuminated Marcus Wilson's face as he read the latest email from his fiancé, Christopher "Chris" Bennett, deployed in Afghanistan. His fingers traced the outline of Chris's words, bringing him closer despite the 7,000 miles between them. Marcus closed his eyes, remembering their first encounter in the Marine Corps barracks, stolen glances across the mess hall, careful conversations under the shadow of "don't ask, don't tell," and the quiet promise they made on a starlit night in Camp Pendleton. The memory was so vivid he could almost feel the coastal breeze and hear the distant sound of waves crashing against the California shore. A soundtrack to their forbidden romance. At 5'2", Marcus had always stood tall in his military uniform, commanding respect despite his stature. Now, as a veterans advocate in San Francisco, he helped others transition to civilian life while raising his 16-year-old adopted son, Jordan. The silver frame photo on his desk captured their small civil ceremony in Wyoming, rushed before Chris's deployment, with just a courthouse official and their closest friends. The simplicity of that day contrasted sharply with the elaborate wedding they now planned, a celebration not just of their love, but of how far they'd come from those clandestine days of hidden affection. "Dad, are you reading Chris's emails again?" Jordan's voice pulled Marcus back to reality. The teenager leaned against the doorframe, his school backpack slung over one shoulder, his observant eyes, so much like those of an old soul, taking in Marcus's wistful expression. "Just finalizing some wedding details." Marcus smiled, turning the screen. "The San Francisco LGBT Veterans Memorial is booked for September." The venue represented everything about their journey: service, sacrifice, identity, and the hard-won right to celebrate love openly. Jordan crossed the room, studying the venue photos with appreciative eyes. His artistic sensibility, the talent that had first drawn Marcus to the quiet boy in the foster home 3 years ago, was evident in how he assessed the space. "It's perfect. So when are you going to find your outfit?" The question stirred the conflict that had been brewing inside Marcus for weeks. As a Marine, he'd worn his dress blues with pride, the uniform erasing individual differences in service of a greater purpose. As a groom, he wanted something that reflected both the discipline of his military past and the freedom of his authentic self. Something regal, yet uniquely him. Something that would make Chris's eyes light up the way they had on their first unofficial date, hiking the trails above San Diego. "I actually got a call today," Marcus revealed, a mixture of excitement and vulnerability crossing his face. "That wedding rescue show wants to help me find the perfect outfit. They said my application story touched them. A veteran who served under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, finally getting his dream wedding." Randy to the rescue, Jordan's eyes widened, genuine excitement replacing his typical teenage reserve. "Dad, that's awesome. Their transformations are incredible. Remember that episode with the cancer survivor?" Marcus nodded, excitement mingling with apprehension. The application had been Jordan's idea, a late-night submission after they'd binge-watched the show together during one of those evenings when Chris's deployment felt particularly long. "I've dreamed of looking like a prince on my wedding day since I was young. But with my height," he gestured to his compact frame, the body that had carried him through Marine training, desert deployments, and countless challenges. "I'm worried I'll look ridiculous in anything too elaborate, like a kid playing dress-up." That evening, Marcus stood before his bedroom mirror, the lamplight casting gentle shadows across his features. He studied his reflection, the strong shoulders that had carried military gear, the eyes that had witnessed both warfare and profound love, the posture that compensated for his height with immaculate straightness. He wondered if he could truly embody both the soldier he had been and the prince he longed to be for his wedding day. The sapphire cufflinks from his grandfather, a World War II veteran and the only family member who embraced him when he came out, rested in his palm, cool against his skin. "You fought for freedom," his grandfather had told him. "Never apologize for claiming yours." Those words, and these cufflinks, were a reminder that being true to himself was the greatest honor of all. If you've ever felt torn between who you were and who you want to be, follow Marcus's journey on Hard Stories as he discovers that sometimes the greatest act of courage is allowing yourself to shine. The production lights blazed as Marcus entered the boutique, flanked by his support team. The morning sun filtered through San Francisco's characteristic fog, casting the elegant showroom in a dreamy glow that matched Marcus's mixture of anticipation and anxiety. His mother, Elizabeth, a retired Army nurse with silver-streaked hair and determined eyes, squeezed his hand reassuringly. Her journey from initial shock at his coming out to becoming his fiercest advocate had transformed their relationship into something deeper than either could have imagined. His best friend Matthew, fellow Marine veteran and newlywed, adjusted his blazer with military precision, the habit of exactness ingrained from their service days. Jordan hung back slightly, observing everything with the quiet intensity of a teenager witnessing a pivotal moment in his father's life. His sketchbook clutched in one hand, ready to document this transformation. Randy's face lit up as he greeted the group, embracing Marcus with genuine warmth that instantly dissolved some of the tension in Marcus's shoulders. "I hear you need some rescuing," he said, studying Marcus's petite but athletic frame with a designer's eye that missed nothing. The perfect posture cultivated through military service, the subtle signs of nervousness in how Marcus held himself, the way his eyes darted to reflective surfaces with a mixture of hope and apprehension. "I want to look like royalty," Marcus explained, his voice steady despite his nerves, the same voice that had commanded troops and later counseled veterans through their darkest moments. "But I'm only 5'2". I spent years in a uniform where everything was standard issue, where individuality was secondary to unity. Now I finally have the chance to express myself, but I'm afraid of looking like I'm playing dress-up in someone else's dream." The admission cost him something. This vulnerability was still new territory for a man trained to conceal weakness. Elizabeth placed her hand on her son's shoulder, her touch communicating decades of complicated love. After 20 years of watching him hide who he truly is, first in a household that wasn't ready, then in a military that demanded it, I just want Marcus to feel as magnificent on the outside as I know he is on the inside. The emotion in her voice revealed the journey they'd traveled together, from her initial shock when he came out during his second deployment to becoming his fiercest advocate, standing beside him at pride parades and military family events with equal conviction. He deserves this moment to shine without compromise. Randy nodded thoughtfully, absorbing the layers of meaning beneath her words. "Tell me about Chris. What would he want to see you wearing when you renew these vows?" The question redirected Marcus's focus, shifting him from anxiety about appearance to connection with the reason behind the celebration. Marcus smiled, his eyes softening with a tenderness that transformed his features. "Chris loves my confidence. He fell in love with me during training exercises when I was the smallest guy leading the toughest drills. He always says I command attention in any room despite my height. He'd want me to be bold, but still recognizable as the man he fell in love with. The Marine who never backed down, the father who fights for our family, the partner who knows exactly who he is." As Danielle measured Marcus with expert precision, a process that reminded him of military uniform fittings, but with an entirely different purpose, Randy explored the boutique, pulling designs from America's top LGBT-friendly designers. Each selection was made with thoughtful consideration of Marcus's unique proportions and personal story. Jordan watched intently, occasionally offering suggestions that revealed his artistic eye and deep understanding of his adoptive father. The bond between them transcended biology, forged in mutual respect and the kind of love that sees truly. "When I was in foster care, before Marcus adopted me, I never saw families that looked like what I wanted," Jordan shared unexpectedly, his adolescent voice cracking slightly with emotion. "Seeing him fight for this wedding, for the right to celebrate his love openly, it changed everything for me. It showed me I could hope for more than just survival." The raw honesty silenced the room momentarily, the cameras capturing a truth more powerful than any scripted moment. Randy returned with a selection of outfits draped over his arm, each one representing a different possibility. The wedding attire landscape has evolved dramatically for same-sex couples, he explained, his expertise evident in how he handled each garment. We've moved beyond simply adapting traditional designs or offering basic alternatives. Today's designers are creating pieces specifically celebrating the diversity within the community, understanding that expression of identity is central to these celebrations. Marcus touched the fabrics reverently, fingers that had once cleaned military-issue weapons now tracing delicate embroidery and subtle beadwork. Each represented possibility, the chance to honor both his military past and his authentic present. As he prepared to try on the first option, he caught sight of his reflection in the boutique's ornate mirror. The man looking back was a warrior preparing for perhaps his most personal battle, yet the fight to fully embrace all aspects of himself in front of everyone he loved. The search for the perfect outfit wasn't just about clothes. It was about finding visual representation for the integration of his identities: soldier, father, partner, and the prince he had never allowed himself to be. In a culture that often forced people to compartmentalize themselves, this moment represented the possibility of wholeness. The first outfit transformed Marcus into someone barely recognizable. The white sequin jacket from Billy Porter's collection caught the light from every angle, creating a dazzling effect that overwhelmed his compact frame. The material whispered with each movement, thousands of tiny discs reflecting the boutique lights like a personal constellation. What was designed to empower instead seemed to diminish him, creating a visual noise that competed with rather than complemented his presence. "It's certainly making a statement," Randy observed tactfully as Marcus emerged from the dressing room, carefully monitoring his client's expression as the initial excitement gave way to uncertainty. Years of experience had taught Randy to read the subtle shifts in body language that revealed a person's true feelings about a garment, beyond politeness or expectation. Elizabeth tilted her head, considering her son with the honest appraisal that had characterized their relationship since his childhood. "You look like Elton John headlining in Las Vegas, honey. Magnificent." But she paused, searching for the right words. "Not my Marcus." Her assessment, delivered with love rather than criticism, gave voice to what everyone was thinking. Marcus turned slowly before the three-way mirror, the sequins creating a disco ball effect across the boutique walls. While the craftsmanship was impeccable, the outfit screamed for attention in a way that felt foreign to his sensibilities. During his military years, he had learned the power of quiet authority, commanding respect through presence rather than flash. He had wanted to shine, but this felt like disappearing behind a facade of sparkles, becoming a caricature rather than an elevated version of himself. "It's beautiful," Marcus acknowledged, respecting the artistry while recognizing the disconnect. "But it doesn't feel like me. It feels like I'm wearing a costume for someone else's life story." The acknowledgement was freeing, permission to honor his authentic tastes rather than what might be expected for a gay wedding. The second option swung dramatically in the opposite direction, a classic navy suit with traditional lines that might have been appropriate for any corporate boardroom or conservative ceremony. The tailoring was precise, the fabric luxurious. But as Marcus stood before the mirror, his shoulders dropped almost imperceptibly. This outfit erased rather than celebrated his uniqueness, offering safety through conformity rather than joy through expression. "You look handsome," Elizabeth offered, though her enthusiasm had dimmed, her eyes searching for the spark that characterized her son, the vibrant spirit that had survived military conformity and society's expectations. This outfit reflected none of that resilience or joy. "You look like you're attending someone else's wedding," Matthew said bluntly, his marine directness cutting through the politeness that had descended on the boutique. The years of friendship between them permitted this honesty, honed during late-night conversations in barracks and foxholes. "Where's my friend who wanted to feel like royalty? This looks like you're trying to disappear again." Randy guided Marcus down from the pedestal, positioning him directly before the mirror without elevation, a literal grounding that created immediate clarity. The effect was immediate, both outfits, in different ways, failed to honor his proportions. One swallowed him in excess, the other diminished his presence through mundanity. Neither connected to the authentic core of who Marcus was or the journey that had brought him to this moment. I spent so many years fitting into a uniform designed for someone else's body, Marcus said quietly, the vulnerability in his voice creating a sacred space in the commercial setting. The sleeves always needed alteration. The pants always needed hemming. I guess I'm still learning how to dress for mine, how to claim space rather than accommodate to what's available. The observation extended beyond clothing to his entire life experience. The vulnerability in his voice created a sacred moment in the boutique. Elizabeth moved beside her son, their eyes meeting in the reflection, mother and son, both changed by their shared journey. The cameras captured this tableau, understanding its potency without needing to manufacture drama. "When you first came out to me," she began, her voice steady despite the emotion behind her words, "I worried about what your life would be like. Not because I didn't accept you, but because I knew the world might not. I watched you compress yourself into spaces that weren't built for you, both as a short man in the military and as a gay man in a world that wasn't ready. I saw how it wore on you, that constant adaptation." Her medical training had given her an eye for the physical manifestations of emotional strain, the toll of perpetual vigilance. Marcus's eyes glistened with unshed tears, a man allowing himself vulnerability after years of stoicism. "In the core, I learned to be invisible in plain sight, to be present but not noticed, to serve without drawing attention. Part of me is still afraid to be seen, really seen, even though that's exactly what I want for this wedding. To stand as my full self beside the man I love, without apology or compromise." The dichotomy of his desire for both visibility and belonging created the central tension in this search. Jordan, who had been quietly observing from behind his sketchbook, stepped forward, the wisdom in his young face belying his years. "But Dad, that's exactly why your wedding outfit matters so much. It's not just clothes, well, no. It's a declaration that you're done hiding. That you've earned the right to take up space, to be spectacular on your terms." His perspective, shaped by his own experiences of invisibility in the foster system, added profound depth to the conversation. The profound truth from his teenage son struck Marcus with unexpected force, a perspective shift that altered the entire atmosphere of the boutique. This search wasn't merely about finding fabric that flattered his frame. It was about claiming space in a world that had often told him to shrink, to accommodate, to apologize for his differences. The realization transformed the challenge from an aesthetic one to a deeply meaningful act of self-affirmation. Randy's eyes sparked with inspiration as he listened to the raw truths being shared in his boutique. These moments, when fashion transcended mere appearance to become a vehicle for deeper transformation, were why he had created this show. "I think we've been approaching this all wrong," he declared, energy renewing his movements. "Instead of trying to fit you into existing designs, we need something that honors your unique journey, what I call royal chic. Not costume, not conformity, but authentic regality." He disappeared into the back of the boutique with purposeful strides, while Danielle brought Marcus a glass of water, understanding the emotional exertion of vulnerability. The cameras continued rolling, capturing the authentic pause in the process, the liminal space where transformation becomes possible. The emotional breakthrough had shifted the energy in the room, creating space for something authentic to emerge from the previous disappointments. When Randy returned, he carried a garment bag with reverent care, handling it with the respect usually reserved for ceremonial flags or precious heirlooms. "This is from Christian Siriano's exclusive collection," Randy explained, invoking the name of a designer known for challenging industry norms around size, gender, and representation. He's revolutionized inclusive fashion by designing for bodies that traditional fashion has ignored, proving that true style accommodates humanity rather than forcing humans to accommodate to narrow standards. The philosophy resonated with everyone present, particularly Marcus, who had spent much of his life adapting to systems not designed for him. As Marcus slipped into the outfit behind the privacy screen, an immediate difference was apparent even before the full reveal. The lightweight fabric moved with him rather than constraining or overwhelming his form. The jacket featured a masterfully structured shoulder that created breadth without overwhelming his frame. Architectural precision that honored his military bearing while enhancing his natural proportions. The tailoring nipped precisely at his waist, creating elegant proportions that elongated his silhouette without obvious artifice. Most striking were the subtle crystalline details that traced the lapels and pockets, not garish sequins, but sophisticated embellishments that caught the light with dignified brilliance, reminiscent of military decorations but thoroughly modernized. When Marcus emerged, Elizabeth's hand flew to her mouth, maternal recognition of her son's truest self appearing before her. Matthew stood straighter, an unconscious gesture of respect born from years of military ceremony. Jordan simply grinned, the expression of a young artist witnessing the perfect execution of a vision, the external finally matching the internal. "Now that," Randy said softly, satisfaction evident in his expert assessment, "is a prince." Marcus turned toward the mirror and, for the first time that day, truly saw himself rather than an image he was trying to inhabit or avoid. The outfit didn't disguise his stature, it celebrated it. The proportions honored his body instead of fighting against it or apologizing for it. Most importantly, he recognized the man in the reflection, a perfect integration of military precision and authentic expression, strength and vulnerability, tradition and revolution. The design acknowledged every aspect of his identity without compartmentalization. "There's something missing," Marcus said after a moment of contemplation, reaching into his pocket with deliberate care. He withdrew a small velvet box containing his grandfather's sapphire cufflinks, heirlooms that connected him to his family history in a way that transcended the rejection he'd experienced from other relatives. As he fastened them to his cuffs, the blue stones catching the boutique lights, he shared their history with Randy and the cameras, understanding that their significance extended beyond personal sentiment to represent a broader American narrative. "My grandfather served in World War II, stormed the beaches at Normandy, and helped liberate France. When I came out, most of my family struggled, but not him. He said he'd fought so people could live freely, and that included me." The memory brought warmth to Marcus's expression, honoring the connection between different forms of service and sacrifice. "He gave me these before he passed. They're my something blue and my connection to my family's military legacy, a reminder that my love for Chris is part of the freedom he fought to protect." The addition completed the transformation, the personal history embedded in the cufflinks, infusing the contemporary design with meaningful continuity. The sapphires weren't merely decorative, they represented the thread connecting Marcus's past to his future, his grandfather's courage in war mirroring Marcus's courage in love. This visual integration of heritage and hope perfectly symbolized the wedding itself, not a rejection of tradition, but an expansion of its meaning to embrace a fuller expression of humanity. Randy adjusted the final details, explaining to the cameras how proper tailoring creates visual harmony regardless of height. "Fashion at its best is architecture for the body," he explained, demonstrating how the jacket's cut created balanced proportions. "It isn't about fitting your body to clothes, it's about finding clothes that honor your body as it exists. When you understand the architecture of proportion, every body becomes the perfect canvas for expression." His expertise transformed what might have seemed like technical adjustments into principles with profound implications beyond the boutique. Marcus stood taller, embodying the prince he had always been beneath the uniform, discovering that true regality comes not from height or conventional expectations, but from authenticity worn with conviction. The journey to this moment, through military service, coming out, adoption, and finding love, had prepared him to claim this vision of himself integrated, unapologetic, and genuinely royal in the most democratic sense of the word. The transformation continued as the styling team worked their magic, each professional understanding that this was not merely a makeover, but the external realization of Marcus's integrated self. The hairstylist created a modern, textured look that added subtle height while maintaining masculinity, honoring both his military background and contemporary style. The makeup artist applied a light foundation that evened Marcus's complexion while enhancing his natural features. The strong jawline, expressive eyes, and determined brow that had witnessed both war and profound love. Each element was designed not to mask, but to illuminate the essence of who he was. A philosophy that echoed Marcus's entire journey toward authentic self-expression. As the stylist worked, Elizabeth shared stories from Marcus's childhood, his fascination with royal ceremonies on television, how he would fashion makeshift crowns from whatever materials were available. He always had this regal bearing, she recalled, emotion threading through her words. Even before he knew who he truly was, his spirit carried a certain dignity that couldn't be diminished. These glimpses into his past connected the present transformation to lifelong threads of identity that had persisted despite external pressures to conform. Matthew contributed anecdotes from their service days, how Marcus's stature had initially made him a target for skepticism among recruits, until his leadership capabilities silenced doubters. He commanded respect not by intimidation, but by excellence, Matthew explained. By the end of training, everyone wanted to be in his unit despite his size, or maybe because of how he turned presumed limitations into strengths. These stories created a tapestry of context for the cameras, illustrating how Marcus's wedding transformation represented the culmination of a lifetime of navigating expectations and finding power in authenticity. When the final touches were complete, Randy positioned Marcus before the curtained mirror in the boutique's elegant reveal area. The anticipation in the room was palpable, cameras capturing the moment from multiple angles to ensure every nuance of reaction would be preserved. "Are you ready to meet your royal self?" Randy asked, his hand poised on the curtain's edge. Understanding the emotional significance of what was about to transpire, Marcus nodded, his heart racing with anticipation, the culmination of decades of journey about to materialize before him. As the curtain dropped, he stood motionless, absorbing the vision before him with an expression of wonder that transcended the typical reveal reactions on the show. The man in the mirror embodied everything he had ever wanted to be, dignified yet expressive, structured yet free, honoring his military past while embracing his authentic future. The sapphire cufflinks caught the light, connecting him to his grandfather's legacy of courage while establishing his own. "Dad," Jordan whispered, breaking the reverent silence that had descended, his teenage voice cracking with emotion. "You look incredible. Not just the clothes, I've never seen you look so complete." His artistic perception had captured exactly what made this transformation special. It wasn't about improvement, but about revelation of what had always been present. Tears welled in Elizabeth's eyes as she approached her son. The journey from army nurse to mother of a gay Marine to proud mother of the groom evident in her face. "This is who you've always been," she said, touching the structured shoulder of the jacket with maternal tenderness. "I just didn't have the eyes to see it before. But Chris did. He saw this man from the beginning." Her acknowledgement of growth and recognition completed a circle of family healing that extended beyond fashion to the heart of acceptance. The emotional weight of the moment settled over the boutique when Randy's assistant approached with a tablet, her expression suggesting she was party to a special surprise. "I have something I think you'll want to see," Randy announced, taking the device with conspiratorial delight. "Someone wanted to join us for this moment, and we pulled some strings with the military communications office." The screen flickered to life, revealing Chris in his desert camouflage, sitting in a quiet corner of his base in Afghanistan. The time difference meant it was middle of the night there, but he was fully alert, anticipation evident in his posture. When he caught sight of Marcus in his wedding attire, his composed military demeanor crumbled instantly. "Babe," he breathed, wiping at his eyes without shame, the tough Marine allowing vulnerability before his comrades and cameras alike. "You're the most beautiful man I've ever seen. That's my husband right there." The pride in his voice carried across continents, undiminished by digital transmission. Marcus touched the screen, the distance between them momentarily forgotten in the emotional connection that transcended physical separation. "I wanted to look like a prince for you," he explained, the simplicity of the statement containing all his journey's complexity, the desire to elevate their love to the celebration it deserved after years of necessary hiding. "You've always been my prince," Chris replied, his voice steady despite the emotion evident in his eyes. "From that first day in training, when you outperformed guys twice your size, now everyone else will see what I've always known." His affirmation completed the circle of recognition, from self-acceptance to family acceptance, to the validation of beloved eyes seeing truly across thousands of miles. After the call ended, with promises of reunion and ceremonial celebration in the near future, Randy presented Marcus with a detailed sketch of his outfit, rendered with artistic precision and technical notation. "This is your blueprint," he explained, turning the pages that detailed every measurement, fabric choice, and custom element. "Every stitch, every crystal, every proportion that makes this perfect for you is documented here. It's not just for the wedding day. It's a template for how to dress your body authentically moving forward." The gift transcended the specific outfit to offer lasting empowerment. Marcus accepted the sketch with heartfelt gratitude, understanding its value beyond the practical application. "You didn't just find me an outfit," he said, his voice steady with the confidence that had characterized his military briefings, but now infused with authentic joy. "You helped me reconcile parts of myself I thought couldn't coexist. Soldier and lover. Tradition and innovation. Discipline and freedom. This isn't costume or compromise, it's integration." Jordan stepped forward, standing proudly beside his father, the height difference between them inconsequential in the equality of their bearing. "This is what courage looks like," he declared with teenage certainty that nonetheless contained profound truth. "Not just serving your country, but serving your truth. You showed me that being yourself isn't something that happens once. It's something you claim every day in big and small ways." His insight revealed how Marcus's journey had shaped his son's understanding of authentic manhood beyond conventional definitions. As the cameras prepared for final shots, Marcus addressed the boutique with newfound confidence, speaking not just to those present, but to the viewers who would find resonance in his story. "I spent years making myself smaller to fit into spaces not designed for me, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Today I learned that true royalty isn't about height or tradition or following rules created by others. It's about standing fully in your truth, whatever that looks like. Sometimes the bravest act of service is allowing yourself to be fully seen." His words hung in the air, a benediction for anyone who had ever felt forced to fragment their identity to belong. As Randy's team captured final footage, Marcus stood regally in his perfectly tailored attire, a vision not of fairy tale royalty but of democratic nobility, the kind that recognizes the inherent dignity in authentic self-expression. His journey from Marine to Prince was not a rejection of his past, but an evolution that honored every chapter of his story. Have you ever had to reconcile different parts of your identity to become fully yourself? What symbols or clothing helped you express your true self when words weren't enough? Share your story in the comments below. For more inspiring journeys of self-discovery and transformation, subscribe to Heart Stories, where we believe everyone deserves to shine in their authentic truth. Remember, your unique story isn't just worth telling, it's worth celebrating in all its complexity and beauty.